I had a chance to sit down with Cika, Iapeto, Vuru, and Namass from the US Raiding Guild Exodus and talk with them about what their guild is like and what their take was on things like competition, cheating and exploits, performance, the recent Tier 13 race, and the state of raiding going forward. We also covered issues like plans for the first ever stick figure raid boss and a new definition for the word monogamy. Now, I can't call Exodus a typical raiding guild, but I suppose I can't really call them atypical either. Ever since I first met some of their members a few months ago, I noticed a kind of edge in their atmosphere. Sure, that's probably partly due to the fact that when you interact with them, it feels a little bit like you've joined a fraternity. There are no female raiders on their team, they're mostly all in their early 20s, and their website seems to be a bit more focused on girls and music than raiding. They like to have fun, they like to play well, and they don't take themselves or the raiding race particularly seriously, and they're very honest about this. This brutal honesty about raiding is one of the reasons I've dubbed Exodus the bad boys of raiding. That's my tongue-in-cheek term for a kind of guild that may feel less of an ethical dilemma when lingering in the grey areas of gameplay manipulation, while on the pursuit of their higher goal of doing well in the raiding race. They don't seem particularly bothered about this, however, and while this is a very sensitive topic to others, they just seem to brush it off. But we do get into this topic at great length in part 2 of the interview, and I'm very grateful to the guys for being so open about discussing it with me. So this kind of atmosphere I notice about Exodus seems to be confirming this idea that I've had tossing around in my head, that each guild has the power and ability to define and create its own social fabric. And this fabric is, in some ways, more important to the functioning of a guild than whether a guild can clear content effectively or not. And it's not to say that Exodus is the only guild of its kind, but it has created its own unique culture, as many other guilds also do, and I hope you'll also get a sense of that as you listen to our interview. Anyway, do enjoy part 1 of our interview, where we learn a bit more about the guild and its members, and how it's been enjoying its improved rankings from the Tier 13 race. Well, hi everybody, and welcome back to my Raiding Observer Roundtable discussions. I am here talking to the guys from Exodus, the US Server Raiding Guild, and I'm very happy to have them with me to talk a little bit about their experiences, not only in the recent tier, but as a raiding guild, and also what they think about the current situation of raiding in World of Warcraft and sort of how things are going forward. So, hi guys, just quick to have you all start doing some introductions. I'll start with Cika. Who are you and where are you from?
Well, I'm Cika. I play a rogue in Exodus. I'm an officer, and I live in Ohio, and I'm the best rogue in the country.
Great, nice to do that. And Namass, where are you?
My real name is Yoon. I play a mage named Namass, and I'm from Texas. And my job is to warm up a bench and provide them with a fish feast and a cauldron for the guild. Sometimes for fight.
Great, wonderful. And we've got Vuru. Where are you?
I'm Vuru. I play a Resto Druid in Exodus, or I go tree form and I am the bench, literally, because Resto Druids are pretty crappy right now. And I'm from Oregon.
Great. And finally, Iapeto, where are you?
I'm Iapeto, Shadow Priest. I'm in California, and Cika sucks.
All right, great. So originally we'd just dive right into the teasing. So one thing I wanted to ask you guys as we sort of get started is I've had a chance to chat with you guys a little bit informally and formally in recent months, and you're a very playful guild. You seem to have a good laugh with each other. Has that always been sort of the atmosphere, Cika, of Exodus?
Yeah, that's one thing that we always tell recruits when they join. You know, our atmosphere in our raids is it's a lot lighter than most top guilds. I mean, we get serious. We don't just like wipe all the time because we're joking around, but we definitely have a good atmosphere going on. We joke a lot and make fun of each other a lot and just all that kind of stuff.
Great. Well, let's just dive right into what's been going on for you guys in the past few months. I pulled a few bits of numbers off of WoW Progress before we started our interview today, and in Tier 13, you did really well. You ended up ranked 9th overall or 7th in the 25-man raiding race. And then in Tier 12, you were actually ranked about 20th overall and ended up 15th in the 25-man race. That's a very significant jump. And obviously, you've improved your rankings on both the international and domestic scale. In the US, actually, you ended up second among US raiding guilds, and you were fifth in Tier 12. Now, what would you credit that improvement to, Cika? What helped you guys jump ahead?
Well, in the past, like during Sunwell and Ulduar, and before we got to Lich King, because we had a lot of people leave at Lich King, myself included, so we ended up doing pretty bad. But before that, we were in the mode, which most guilds raid, like the hours that they raid now, so they raid around 12 hours a day. We were doing that as well, and after that, we kind of fell off, and we just went back to, we'd raid our normal raid schedules during progression, and we'd just do what we could. And those finishes, like you said, in Sinestra top 20, those were all rating hours that were not as hardcore. So we decided this tier to go back to rating hardcore hours, and obviously it paid off. We were able to secure a high finish, and I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that had we not been banned for LFR, we definitely would have finished US first and top 3 world. So that was our goal, and I don't see us ever not finishing US first if we raid the same hours that the other US guilds do.
Oh, it's certainly a nice goal to look forward to. Namass, what would you say? How long have you been with Exodus? And is that sort of your overall goal with raiding, is to sort of top 3, even top, overall rankings worldwide?
I joined them in the beginning of a heroic progression. Originally, I quit this game, hence, I was the co-GM of the guild called Rebellion, which is a bunch of great people. I love them all, but I couldn't raid anymore because the raiding hours, and I have my girlfriend who's been yelling at me for God knows how long. So I decided to quit, and I was casual for probably a day or two. Then Kraj, who's the other officer who couldn't be here, hence I'm here, just asked me that if I want to do, if I want to finish the content, just with them, and he spent 4 hours to convince me that just the one tier and that's all that's all we need, and so I decided to join them just to just finish content since it's the last expansion. Last tier of expansion. After that, I joined, and I just brought everybody pretty much everybody in the Rebellion who I thought was good. Every guild has the superstar, like all-star, who's carrying, and so I brought all those good players, and pretty much what was the second question? Sorry.
No, I'm just wondering if that's when you joined in with Exodus, it sounds like you just wanted a chance to go through the content, but was it also your goal to finish with such high rankings? And how's that been?
No, that was actually bonus. I mean, I was never into in a higher end guild, but it was a really fun, I guess, experience. I never expected the high end ratings to be so like fun and casual. Like everybody's having fun, and there's no pressure or anything like that. It's just we kill, we have nurse scream, and it's a great guild to be in. I never expected to have like this caliber guild to have this kind of environment.
Oh, that's interesting. So, is that the same experience for you, Vuru? Was it kind of like, how was it for you ending up higher up, and how how long have you been in the guild?
I actually joined the guild at the start of September, I believe. It was late summer, definitely. I was in Ropetown at the time. I had joined to play with Krajatok and Shaladin, a rep paladin in the guild as well. They were friends from years ago. We raided together in a guild years ago. And they finally decided to bring me over. Well, I should say I gave in to coming over and raiding more hardcore. I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted at the time. Just before I actually joined Ropetown, Kraj left and went to Cuties Only. Cuties Only died. Kraj went to Exodus. And so after raiding in Ropetown for probably half a year, we joined Exodus. So it was definitely a jump up. So I went from being in a casual guild to joining a, top 25 US guild, definitely a good guild. I love Ropetown, to joining Exodus. And I honestly wasn't sure if I was good enough to join Exodus at the time. I thought that they would raid, 12 hours a day and everyone would be, hardcore poop sock neckbeards and they would just, take everything too seriously. And so when I finally gave into Craj and Shell because I was friends with them, I decided, might as well try to play with my friends. And if I don't make it, I don't make it. I joined, and honestly, I love the environment here. I'm very, very happy. It's as casual as it can get while still having the best people that you can get. So it's honestly been a great experience. I do enjoy it here because, you join guilds and there's, like Yoon said, there's the top people in the guild that carry the guild, and then there's the slackers, I guess you could say. And even though they're not awful, they're definitely not as, as good as you or some of the other people in the raid. And that eventually wears on people, and the tensions get high as progression is happening, and people definitely don't like wiping the same thing hundreds of times because someone makes a mistake one attempt and then another attempt, and then it just repeats in a cycle like that. And so we really don't have a problem with that in Exodus. I'm very happy with it.
That's really interesting, actually, because it sounds like what you guys are saying is that you've been able to be successful without necessarily following a similar pattern that other guilds may follow, or at least you believe that other guilds feel like they have to put in a certain amount of hours in, or a certain sort of discipline or attitude they need. I mean, is that true, Cika? Is there a secret to your success as far as how you've succeeded as a guild?
Well, we've had the same leadership since Sunwell, the same officers. So I was in since Sunwell. K-Warrior, raid leads, he's been in since Sunwell. Shibu's the GM, he's been in since Sunwell. We've had Rob, also an officer, he's been here since Sunwell. So we've had maybe like one or two officers who've come and gone in that time period, but it's the same leadership. So we run the guild the same way that we've always have. And whenever we've put in the hours, we've had amazing results. A lot of these guilds like Vodka and Blood Legion, pretty much the only two real contenders left in the US, they've had officer changes, leadership changes. And, once you have a leadership change, everyone's pumped up and, you think you can run the guild one way and it may work out for you for a tier, but the way that we run our guild is time tested. Blood Legion, for example, they put in so many hours, they do so many runs, they stress their players so much. They ran, Rainrels pointed this out many times. He loved this point in your interview. He said that they ran 6 normals, and he highly stressed that these were not LFRs. No normal guild can run 6 normals. He was very very pleased with that. But are you really going to run 6 normals for every instance, for every tier? Your players are going to get burned out, and people aren't going to want to do that. It's not necessary to do that. We proved that you don't need to run 6 normals to have high progressions. Blood Legion beat us by 2 hours because they raided on Christmas. And we would have beat them had they not done that, and we had an 8-day ban. So 6 normal is really necessary. Why put all that stress on your players? Why burn them out when it's not required? So the way that we run our guild is time tested, and we're not going anywhere. And I mean, I credit it all to the leadership.
Very good, of which you're a part. So obviously that's perhaps coming from a voice of experience there. But Iapeto, I've got a question for you. This comes up a fair bit, mostly in a joking term, but I do think there's a little bit of tension there. So the atmosphere between US raiding guilds, and you guys were just talking about different members and different raiding guilds, and there is movement, either movement amongst officers or members going from certain guilds to certain guilds, and kind of there's certain known names that people kind of bounce around. And you have a similar thing with some of the EU English server guilds as well. But do you think that sort of has created a negative atmosphere between the raiding guilds, and perhaps created even more of a rivalry than you might see amongst EU guilds or Asian guilds or anywhere else?
I don't know, really. I don't think there's that much of a rivalry other than the stuff that we kind of just create in our heads, like we're competing against Blood Legion and Vodka, so we see them as our competition, so we think it's all rivalry, competitive, and I mean, I'm sure some of it is, but I don't really think it's that like there's not that much animosity, I guess, towards everyone else. I personally wouldn't mind if there was more public animosity. Like I don't mind drama, but we've had people come from Blood Legion and say that they just didn't like the raiding environment there, and they came to us and said, they love it here. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
True. Although, would you also say that you guys have a very particular atmosphere that just isn't going to appeal to every kind of raider, whether they're good or bad at raiding? I mean, what would you say? Or I mean, I get the impression, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have any female raiders on your raiding team at this time, correct?
Yeah, we have a fairly unique atmosphere. No female
Yeah.
raiders at the moment.
Is that intentional or is that accidental or sort of coincidental?
Um, it's kind of both. I mean, if there was a good female raider that apt to our guild made it to raider, I mean, we'd have her happily, but we just don't have any. Can't get any.
And what's your sort of general demographic? Obviously, you're primarily reside in the North American region, but are you generally average age, early 20s, or where would you put yourselves?
Yeah, I think just early 20s, all over the U.S., some of Canada. I think there's some older people, but I don't think anyone's past like, 33 or something.
Would you say at its core that raiding is really a social activity, that you kind of have to fit each other socially, even more so sometimes than skill wise?
I guess for some people it would be. Like for me, I don't really care that much about the social atmosphere. I mean, it's great here. It's great in Exodus, but if I did go to Vodka or Blood Legion instead of Exodus, I'm sure I would have fit in there just because I want to raid and that's my main goal and not socializing. But for some people, if they really just can't get along with the people and they really just hate it there, then they can't really raid. They just don't enjoy themselves. But yeah.
What do you think, Vuru? Do you think that, am I right in believing that raiding at its core is sort of 100% social, perhaps, or on some level?
I definitely think it is, at least for me personally. I know that it's a two-way street though, because I honestly would have never left Ropetown. I was very happy there. I enjoy the people there, and I still do. If it weren't for my real life friends that went to Exodus, but I am also very happy in Exodus, and obviously the success and progression that we have in Exodus is much better. And so that also to me was a selling point. So I think the core of the game is the social aspect, at least for me, because if I weren't having fun with the people I was playing with, I probably wouldn't play because, sure, the success of doing very well is obviously tempting. But if I have to be with people I don't enjoy and I have to raid, 20 hours a day, that's not what I want. I want to be able to have fun with my friends and ultimately do very well. So I think that it is a very, very social game. And that's why I continue to play, actually.
This concludes part 1 of our interview. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll be continuing our discussion with Exodus and looking at issues like exploits, bugs, and whether or not it's appropriate for raiders to be considered role models.